The workshop hummed with the low thrum of plasma torches, diagnostic drones, and the faint vibration of engines from the orbital station's docking ring. Jonathan Hale wiped a smear of grease from his forehead, leaving a darker streak in its place. He wasn't a soldier. Never had been. He was an engineer, one of the thousands contracted to the Coalition to keep their war machines running. It had been 2 years since humanity had joined the Galactic Coalition against the Threx Dominion, and Hale had quickly learned that soldiers came and went, but their gear always came back broken. He preferred working on machines. They didn't scream, didn't bleed, didn't look at him with haunted eyes after a mission. Machines made sense. That day, however, the request ticket that blinked across his hollow display made him pause. Urgent. Custom Armor Recalibration Unit. Kralove. Species Draenor. His brow furrowed. The Draenor were a warrior species, towering reptilian bipeds with scaled skin like living armor. They were fierce, relentless, and proud. He had never worked on their battlesuits before. They usually repaired their own. Still, he tapped accept on the console. It wasn't like he had a choice. Moments later, the bay doors slid open with a hiss, and she entered. Kralove was intimidating. Nearly 7 feet tall, her scales shimmered bronze beneath the lights, and the scars carved across her jawline told stories of battles Hale never wanted to imagine. Her armor, an imposing, segmented exosuit, was cracked and dented, one arm hanging loose, its servos sparking faintly. She carried herself like she weighed nothing. Her amber eyes scanned him, sharp as knives. "You are the human engineer?" Hale swallowed.
"Yeah.
"That's me. Jonathan Hale. You, can call me John." She inclined her head, then extended her damaged gauntlet. "My armor must be operational before the next cycle. I trust you will not fail." Her tone wasn't cruel, just certain. Like failure wasn't an option she even acknowledged. "Right," John said, forcing a steady breath. "Let's see what we're working with." Middle. As John guided her toward the diagnostic rig, he noticed the armor wasn't just damaged, it had been pushed past design limits. The exosuit was more than metal and circuitry. It was an extension of her, integrated directly into her nervous system. Every dent and fracture mirrored strain on her own body. He activated scanners, and holograms of fractured plating and burned-out servos filled the air. "You've been overclocking the kinetic dampeners. That's why the feedback is frying your arm systems." Krala tilted her head. "And yet the armor held, and I survived." John gave a humorless chuckle.
"Barely.
"If you keep forcing it like this, it won't matter how strong you are. The suit will lock up on you mid-battle." For the first time, she regarded him with something that wasn't impatience. "You speak as if you care what happens to me." He blinked. "Of course I do. You think I patch this stuff up just for fun? I fix things so people don't die out there." That earned him a faint flicker in her eyes, something unreadable. She stepped closer, towering over him, and extended her arm fully. "Then repair it, human. Show me your skill." John set to work. His hands moved with practiced precision, detaching cracked armor plates, rewiring burnt circuits, and adjusting the neural coupling ports that linked the suit to her. He expected silence. Most soldiers stood still, grim, waiting for him to finish. But Krala watched him closely. After a while, John muttered, half to himself, "The coupling is misaligned. No wonder you're in pain." Her brow ridges furrowed. "Pain is of no consequence." "It should be," he said softly. "You fight better when you're not fighting your own armor." She was quiet at that, letting him continue. His fingers brushed along the fine adjustment ridges of the neural interface built into her gauntlet. It required delicacy, precision, gentle work to align it properly without shorting the whole system. That was when her voice cut through the hum of tools. "You are touching me too gently." John froze, tools in hand. "Excuse me?" Her amber gaze didn't waver. "You handle the armor as though it were fragile." "I am no fragile being, human." He exhaled, half a laugh, half disbelief. "Yeah, well, the interface is. If I'm not careful, I could fry half your nervous system. Forgive me for not wanting to cook your brain." For a heartbeat, she just stared at him. Then, unexpectedly, her lips curled in the faintest approximation of a smile. "You fear for me." John shook his head. "I don't fear. I care. There's a difference." The silence that followed was heavier than before, charged with something he couldn't name. The repair stretched on. Hours passed as John dismantled and rebuilt, recalibrating servos, smoothing circuits, replacing fractured armor segments with spare alloys. Krala barely moved, though her eyes followed him with an intensity that made the back of his neck prickle. Finally, he sealed the last plate back into place. "There. Try it now." She flexed her gauntlet. The armor moved with liquid precision, servos humming smoothly. She rolled her shoulders, crouched, then stood tall, the entire suit flowing like a second skin. Her gaze snapped back to him. "You have improved it." John shrugged. "Fixed it. Optimized it a little. You won't burn it out again. Not unless you're trying to punch a black hole." She stepped closer, so close he could feel the faint heat radiating from her scales. "Why do you do this, human? Why pour such care into the armor of a warrior not your own kind?" John hesitated. "Because if I don't, who will? You go out there and fight, risk your life every day. The least I can do is make sure you've got a fighting chance." Her expression shifted, softened, though only slightly. "Among my people, engineers are servants to the warcast. But you speak as though you stand beside us." He managed a small smile. "Maybe I do. In my own way." For the first time, Krala bowed her head slightly, a gesture of respect he had never seen from a Draenor. Climax. 2 cycles later, the alarm klaxons blared through the station. Threx assault fleet incoming. All units to battle stations. John's stomach clenched. Engineers weren't fighters. They were supposed to stay behind the lines. But as he turned toward the hangar, he caught sight of Krala. She was already in her restored armor, a towering bronze figure striding toward her dropship. Their eyes met, and for reasons he couldn't explain, John followed. The battle was chaos. The station's defense fleet engaged the Threx head-on, but boarding parties still slammed into the outer hull. John found himself on the edge of the hangar, plasma rifle clutched awkwardly in his hands, heart hammering. Krala fought like a storm. Every strike of her gauntlet shattered Threx exocets, her armor gleaming with the precision John had restored. But then he saw it, an enemy heavy unit descending behind her, charging a plasma cannon. Without thinking, John shouted, "Krala, behind you." She spun, but too late, the cannon fired. John didn't think. He ran forward, shoving her aside just as the blast seared past. Pain exploded through his shoulder as the plasma clipped him, hurling him to the ground. Through blurred vision, he saw her tear into the heavy unit with a roar, ripping it apart with sheer fury. Then she was kneeling beside him, claws surprisingly gentle as she checked his wound.